have a question I can't find the answer to. How do you size your hoop and fabric to match your pattern? I had a pattern that said 8 inches but was way bigger. You know what? I've actually had this exact same problem in the past too. I had a pattern that said it was like 7 or 8 inches and it ended up needing a 9-inch hoop, and it was still overflowing the hoop, which worked out for this particular pattern, but it was still kind of annoying to not really know how big of a piece I was working on until I was like done with it. So Kettlekins Reads in the comment section of this last video actually dropped a recommendation to 123stitch.com, and I had never heard of them before, but I have tried out a couple different like typing in my patterns onto 123stitch.com and seeing what it spit out, and it's actually pretty accurate from what I've seen. So it is not giving hoop suggestion sizes, but it's at least telling you how big of a piece of Ida cloth to cut. So it asks you how big is your pattern. So you're going to say it's X number of stitches wide and it's Y number of stitches tall. It's going to ask you how many inches of fabric you want on each side of your pattern. And then it's also going to ask you, what count is the Ida cloth you're working. So I always work with 14 count, but you can put in 11 or 18 or 28 or whatever. And that's going to help it do the math properly. And then you hit calculate and it spits out the numbers and it says you should use fabric that's this dimensions and your stitched area is going to be this size. So that stitched area size is going to help you pick out the right hoop size. So if you are stitching something that's an exact square, your hoop size your corners need to not touch it, right? But like my Pokemon pieces, they're not squares. They're the shape of whatever the Pokemon is. So that's gonna be a little bit different. So like I just popped in the dimensions for my Vulpix pattern, and it says that the stitch area is gonna be 3.79 inches wide and 3.29 inches high. So that means theoretically, this could fit in a 4-inch hoop. However, 3.8 inches and it being in a 4-inch hoop is only going to give me like a bare minimum little bit of like breathing room at the top and bottom of this pattern. So I'm actually going to put it in 5-inch hoop. And that gives it a good amount of like breathing room around the edge of my patterns. So those dimensions there, the stitched area dimensions, are gonna give you a better idea of how big of a hoop you're gonna need. Now, everybody likes their hoops to fit their pieces just a little bit differently, so it is also gonna be personal preference. But hopefully that helps and it'll get you started.